So today's lesson is going to be on Christopher Columbus. So Christopher Columbus was this explorer and he was born in 1451. So this is his lifetime, okay? And he was born in the Republic of Genoa, which is like a country in Europe at that time. And he began to start to learn about selling and stuff at a really early age. And he began his career really early, but then soon, in 1477, he was hired as a merchant mariner for King John II of Portugal. So he was hired as a merchant by the King of Portugal. And then, basically, Portugal was gaining power on the sea because it's I think it's a coastal place, and it was colonizing Atlantic islands it found, and it's also establishing a trade route of West African kingdoms along the coastline. So then some sailors we know that in 1480 some Portuguese sailors found out that you could sell so people found that you could sell around Africa. You could sell around Africa and arrive in Asia, well, specifically India. Cause this thing here is Europe, right? And then Africa is right over here, this blob. I don't know how to draw it. And then this part is Asia and stuff. Actually, let me use green. And this part is Asia. So then if you and Portugal is probably somewhere over here. So then if you sell from in the oceans and you sell around Africa, then you arrive here, which is around where India is. So then basically after they had this discovery, and people also knew the earth was already round, so then some people thought that the earth was really small compared to its actual size. They had this small earth theory, the earth was small, and they thought they could sell if you sailed west. They thought that if you sailed west through the Atlantic Ocean, you would reach Japan. And then so that's what some people thought. And then Columbus read about that idea, and he was really fascinated by it, especially by the thought of getting a lot of goods from Japan, China, India, etc., all around Asia in this really new and fast way, because he wanted to earn money, right? So yeah. So then Columbus tried to convince rulers to fund his trip. Across the Atlantic. So, cause he didn't have that much money, right? And he tried to convince the kings and queens, etc., of England, France, etc., all the countries in Europe to fund his trip and give him ships and sailors to go west of the Atlantic and arrive at Japan and in goods home, because they didn't know that America existed. The Vikings did arrive at America a long time ago, but that's not much people knew about that event. So not much people knew that America existed, and it was such a big place. That it was right in the middle of Asia and Europe, and yeah. So then he kept asking for people to fund him. So in 1492, the rulers of Spain, so this king is called Ferdinand, and the queen is called Isabella. They're rulers of Spain. And they decided to fund Columbus. But then still, like, they've only funded Columbus because I guess the king changed his mind, or the queen changed her mind. But then they only gave Columbus a really small fund. They only funded him with 3 ships. So that's like a really small fund at that time, because like honestly, not a lot of ships would survive during a journey, and like more ships means like more resources and more people to help you, right? So 3 ships wasn't really much. Like you can't really load any cargo on, I guess, and stuff. So because they weren't sure, it's like this journey where you like no one knew if this idea would work. Yes, everyone knew the Earth was round, but they didn't know if like the Earth was really big or really small. It's just like there's this theory that people thought the Earth was really small than it actually was. So like it's like a trip where you go west and you don't know if you're actually gonna come back. So he only received like a really tiny fund because of the risk. So then the ships like stopped. So the ships started selling, and the names of the ships are Nina, or like there's an accent, I don't know how to pronounce it. Nina, Pinta, and Santa Maria. And these ships set sail on. So they sailed on August 3rd. They sailed on August 3rd. Of 1492, the same year he got funded. And firstly they made a stop at the Gran Canary, which is like an island close to Europe, but probably to pick up some supplies and stuff. Then they took a 5-week trip like across the Atlantic, all like to the west, and Columbus was really good at navigating, so he managed to not get off track and just stay continuously going west of the Atlantic. So then on October, like after like 5 weeks, right, on October 12th, 1492, Columbus and his crew like spotted a land. So at dawn, so Columbus and his crew went ashore, and it was an island. So Columbus went on an island. And well, he thought it was Japan. Like, he thought it was Japan because he thought he already arrived at Japan and Asia and stuff. So then he was going to trade with the natives, which, yeah. So they were going to trade with the natives, which were called the Taínos. So trade with natives, trade with Taínos. But then they realized that like the natives didn't have that much goods as the Japanese and the Asians had. So then basically what he did, but then he also did notice that some of the people, the native people, the Taínos, wore gold as jewelry. So he realized that gold was something that like would really motivate everyone, that his discovery of this new piece of land was like a big thing. So he wandered around searching for gold. But then the problem was the ships at that time, I guess, weren't really, like, they didn't have radars and stuff. So then the Santa Maria, one of the 3 ships, crashed on a reef in Hispaniola, which is like this region of islands that he went to. It's like East America, East North America. So east of North America, so like it's like this part called Hispaniola. And Santa Maria crashed. Like it crashed and the ship sunk. So it crashed, so like the ship couldn't move anymore. And since there were people on the ship, Columbus left 39 people on Hispaniola, on this island, to build a colony. So they were supposed to settle down and build a home and try and farm and communicate with the natives on Hispaniola. And meanwhile, Columbus left and he went back to Europe to share his new findings because he wanted money and fame and stuff. He presented everything he found to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. but then he didn't bring enough gold. But like one important thing to note here is, as soon as he went on the island, like the first thing he saw, the first like natives he saw, he held captives. So he captured natives. He captured natives to show the king and queen, along with some other like small goods that the natives traded them with. So like, but then he didn't bring enough gold. So, but then he described the like natives as having a lot of gold. So King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella funded him with 17 more ships to go back to America for gold. Like this time there's like a larger funding. It's 17 more ships. So Columbus basically went back to Hispaniola. Well, he was really good at navigating, so even without any radar systems, he didn't get lost. But then the 39 men he left on Hispaniola were killed by a local chief, and like because like there's like native tribes and they had weapons, right? And the 39 men probably didn't have any resources there, so like they were killed by a local chief. And Columbus was really mad with the chief, but then he also realized at the same time that the island, like this Hispaniola thing that the chief was on, there was a lot of gold on that island. So he basically sent a group of people to mine the gold. So he sent another colony to mine gold on Hispaniola. But then the chief was really, really mad about these intruders, because they basically just like randomly came onto this island and invaded like this entire like tribe's space and stuff, and took their resources and took their gold. So then a fight broke out. Like natives vs Europeans, and obviously the Europeans like had guns and stuff, so like because this time they were funded with 17 ships, right? So there's probably some weapons on them. So then like Columbus basically fought with these Tainos, and he beheaded people in public to intimidate the chief, and it's like basically enraged the entire tribe. And meanwhile, Columbus, like since they weren't really worried about the like natives anymore because they had guns, Columbus also suggested the idea of slavery. So he basically captured around 500 Tainos. So slavery, which is like a main thing he did. He captured 500 Tainos and sent them back to Europe for the king and queen to see. And he defeated like the rest of the fighting like Tainos, right? Because yeah, he defeated the natives, and in return the natives were supposed to pay a tribute of gold. So when the natives were supposed to pay a tribute of gold, well, Columbus enslaved the natives and made them forced them to go to gold mines and find gold. And those who didn't find enough gold are punished. So basically he brutally treated and abused these people and used them for like non-humanitarian purposes, which was really bad. So, and like how bad was this though? Well, during the first few years of this tribute thingy where you were forced to find gold, and if you didn't find enough gold you were killed or like beaten up to death, 50,000 people were dead. Specifically 50,000, around 50,000 natives were dead. So, and furthermore, like not only the natives hated these actions and they all died, the colony who's like on the 17 ships who all sailed to here with Columbus also hated these actions because they're also human. Like no one can stand being in a bloodbath all day, watching your captain kill everyone. So yeah. So, and however, like they didn't really say anything. So, because, well, I guess they were tasked by the king and queen to do this task, so they didn't really say anything. But then like once they went back, once some of these people went back to Europe, they started complaining to the king and queen, and like the Europeans also hated Columbus's actions, because like this is just like not humanitarian. Like you're treating people like they're not human. That's just like really, really bad, and generally not supported even in the old times. Like even if slavery produces money, that's kind of illegal to like treat people in such a bad manner. So then in 1496, Columbus sailed back to Europe in Spain and to his funders, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, and he tried to defend himself. And well, surprisingly, actually, he won the debate. He won the argument with Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. So they let him return to Hispaniola let him return to Hispaniola in 1498. But meanwhile, like for the 2 years he left, because like 1496 to 1498, that's 2 years, right? And meanwhile in these 2 years he left his brother in charge. He left his brother called Bartolomeo for some reason. Anyways, he left his brother called Bartolomeo in charge, and when he came back after 2 years, he found a Spanish rebellion. So the colony, like the people on the 17 ships, not natives, the people on the 17 ships rebelled, because like they can't stand these actions, because Bartolomeo was also bad at governing, and he also abused the natives. So then soon, like since this message passed back to Europe, since like Columbus had to constantly pass back the message of what's going on to the king and queen of Spain. Well, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella sent a royal assessor to investigate the situation. So then the Columbus brothers, like the two brothers Bartolomeo and Christopher, were put on a trial, and they were found guilty of like a lot of crimes against the Spanish and the natives. So they were a trial, and they were found guilty. So then they were arrested and sent back to Europe. So they were sent back to Europe in jail. And after years, Columbus got released, and he was allowed one last voyage across the ocean, but he couldn't go to Hispaniola. He was banned from that spot. He was not permitted. So he spent 2 years exploring the Caribbean, which is like also islands along the coastline of America. 2 years exploring the Caribbean, and he died. Like he sailed back to Spain, and he died in 1506 at age 54. So in 1506 he died in Spain. And that's like the story of his life. Like this is like the main stuff he did. Like we're not going to go into the smaller details, because this is like the main stuff you're supposed to cover. And then basically so now let's talk about whether we should celebrate Columbus or not. Because on one side, because there's this Columbus Memorial Day or something. So on one side of the argument, we have that we should definitely celebrate this day that Columbus arrived in America, like October 12th, right? So on one side, we say that Columbus is great. So Columbus was great. He inspired people. People's textbooks and teachers often say he inspired people. He was a brave and dwelling explorer who, even though no rulers would fund him, he still persisted his dreams of finding a fast trade route to Asia. And he also without his settlement of Europeans onto America, USA might not exist now, or it might not be that fast developed as it is today. Like, yes, sooner or later someone would explore America and people would settle on it, but maybe not that fast. But then on the other side, we say that Columbus was bad. Because he killed a lot of natives. You know, he just basically disturbed all these natives' lives. Like, he's not supposed to claim the land. Because by today's law, you can't just claim a land that is, like, that already has people on it. You can't just, like, put a flag there and say it's your land. Because millions of natives already lived on America before anyone arrived. So he basically practically killed, like, 90% of the population. And the rest of the people that are alive, like the native people, are still suffering from discrimination. Like, today, even up till today. They're still living in poverty, and, like, Columbus's actions of governing these people in an abusing manner still affects those natives today. So, like, that's a really big and long-term negative impact. So, let's just drop these points down. Dwelling, inspiring, and he was, like, trying his best to do stuff, because honestly he went on a voyage with thrice, and he tried his best to, like, get gold and, you know, claim the land for his country, and trying his best. And one thing, like, I forgot to mention because it wasn't in my class notes, was that basically he tried to spread Christianity. Like, one of his main missions on this, like, trip to find new land was to spread Christianity along the way, because in that time in Europe, spreading Christianity was considered, like, the most important thing you could possibly do, I guess. So yeah, so that's what he did, and that's what he also tried to do. So he tried to spread culture, and there was also an exchange of cultures and goods. So there was also an exchange of cultures and goods between the natives, the Tainos, and the Europeans. But then the bad part is that he killed, like, natives, and not really for a good reason. He just wanted gold. Like, sure, that might be a good reason for, like, him, because, well, yeah, like, the king and queen wanted gold, right? But, like, that's, like, kind of, yeah, like, immoral and not ethical. So that's not really a good thing to do. Like, that's a really bad thing to do, in my opinion. Like, he killed natives, and also basically he kind of like, what he did was he held people captive. Like, he held people captive. And also, he may or may not have intentionally spread diseases from Europe. For example, there was, like, smallpox at that time, which, because of vaccines invented in Europe, smallpox wasn't considered, like, a really, like, life-threatening disease. But then, like, and also they're kind of genetically adapted to that disease, since, like, almost everyone in Europe got it. But then, like, the Native Americans don't have that gene. They don't have the genes that make them immune to that disease, and also they don't have the vaccine that make them immune to that disease. So he spread the diseases and wiped out the population. He also caused war between the Europeans and the natives. So he caused death basically everywhere he went. And he also, like, caused slavery for the indigenous people, the natives. So that's, like, also not good. And yeah, so, like, that's about all. And today we're still having this debate. Some people celebrate Columbus Day or something, like, in memorial of the side where Columbus is great. Some people celebrate the same day, but it's a different name. It's Native American Day, to, remember that remember the Native Americans and their past, etc., before Columbus arrived. So that's all for today.